Slowly and incrementally, area towns are starting to see businesses and public facilities, from recreation parks, restaurants, retail shops, and others, begin to gingerly reopen, many with rules and guidelines around face masks and social distancing in place. At its meeting Tuesday, June 2nd, the Manchester Select Board made it possible for shops and restaurants to require their customers wear face coverings. And as the traditionally busy summer tourism and visitor season approaches, many businesses are trying to thread the needle between being open in a safe manner while making the experience of shopping, visiting, or dining at their establishment an enjoyable experience. Restaurants in Manchester will have some leeway about outdoor dining to make up for the indoor seating they can no longer use beyond the 25% of capacity they are allowed. They'll be able to exploit their nearby outdoor space and parking spaces to place more tables. But that still leaves some restaurant owners trying to thread that needle. We talked with Costas Pfeifis of Christo's Pizzeria and Pasta and Wesley Stannard, a co-owner of the Moonwink restaurant, about planning their way through the coronavirus pandemic.
So far, we were doing just curbside pickup and delivery. So from now on, I think we're gonna put like 4 or 5 tables outside here, some umbrellas, and some plants to separate from the street. And we're gonna be serving outside regular, like everything. As far as I know, for inside dining, I think we're gonna be able to do 25% of the store. And I hope all this ends and we come back to the normality as we all know.
Probably the biggest difference is that we're not really seating people inside the restaurant currently. We do have about 10 seats outside that we can utilize, and it is summer, so that's a solution for now. When it starts to get colder outside, or if it's raining, we don't have much of a plan other than just doing takeout. So throughout the whole thing, we never closed. We've been doing takeout the entire time, bringing food out to people in the parking lot, taking credit card numbers over the phone, which works, but it's really a pain in the butt, to be quite frank. If we open seating inside, as it stands right now, we're required to take people's temperature at the door. So for us, it's just my wife and I working here, and we don't really have the manpower to do that. We both have to be in the kitchen all the time or taking orders, so we probably won't reopen until we don't have to do that, and I don't know when that will be. For us, what they're talking about now is 25% occupancy, taking a log of people's private information to do contact tracing and taking temperatures at the door. Personally, 25% in our restaurant is just one table, 4 seats, so it seems like it's not quite worth it for us to reopen under those guidelines. I'm hoping halfway through the summer they come up with a new plan and slowly start to transition back to a normal, to how it was before, but it's really hard to say at this point what's going to happen.
Other businesses are also getting a long-awaited green light to reopen. Among them are gyms and fitness centers, as well as hair salons. We stopped by the Manchester Gym where we met up with Dana DeSalt, one of the owners, and Dawn Taylor, the owner of Belladonna. Well, yeah, so how does it feel to have the gym reopened again?
Oh, it feels amazing. It's so nice to welcome everybody back that we haven't seen for 2.5 months and just be able to interact with people again. It's been fantastic. So a couple things that are different. We've taken some of the cardio equipment out of commission just so that we can have everybody spaced appropriately upstairs, so we have a few less machines to use. We have some barriers at the front desk. You are required to wear a mask when entering and leaving the facility and walking around. However, if you're engaged in vigorous or physical activity, you don't need to wear a mask at that time. We've always been very clean in here, and the members have always helped us with that. So it's still wipe down the machines before you use them, wipe them down afterwards, and just be aware of your surroundings and practice social distancing within the club. We have abbreviated hours right now for a little while. We're open 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. where normally we would close at 8. That's going to allow us to do more deep cleaning in the evening after we've closed. Currently, some of the classes are not taking place in the facility live. We're still doing our virtual classes, We anticipate starting some of them next week, but again, the state has given us some restrictions on what types of classes we can have, so we don't have all of them up and running yet.
Well, we are only allowed 25% capacity, so I have a note on the door that's stop, and please wait till we let you know it's safe to enter, and then we are requiring masks. It's optional, but we decided we require them. The operators have to wear a mask or shield. You cannot come in until our previous client leaves. So, because we can only have 4 at a time in the shop, myself, my one employee, and each of us can have one client. After each client leaves, we then, we've gotten into a routine. We wipe down the handles of our chairs, the dryer they sat at. I then go and do the light switch for the bathroom, the doorknob, the handles that they wash their hands with, and I even do the toilet flush. And then any other surface they may have touched, the desk chair, if they use a pen, they keep it. We don't want you putting it back in the holder. And it's just, and then when they leave, we do all that, and then we signal the next client to come in. It's a scary time for people, so I'd rather they feel we're doing too much than not enough, you know. And so the clients have been wonderful and, you know, cooperative, and I think this has helped, just having it on the door right above the handle, so they go, oh, we're, you know, and yeah, so we're trying to follow we're trying, and we are succeeding to follow all the proper protocols.
And it feels good to be reopened again.
I am so happy to be back to work. I've been doing this for 34 years, and I love my job. I've missed it, and I've missed my clients terribly. You know, and they've missed us. I mean, it's my constant quest to beautify Vermont one head at a time, and they've come in with some pretty bad roots, and when they leave, they look great, and that makes me feel good. You know.
While some businesses anticipate a slow summer season until restrictions, such as a 14-day quarantine period for visitors from out of state, are relaxed, which may be coming soon, along with more general concerns about traveling are eased, some businesses are finding their offerings in greater demand than usual. One of them is Bat and Kill Bicycles, where the inventory has been hard to keep up to normal levels, said owner Barrick Evans.
Yes, bicycles are the new toilet paper. I stole that. Somebody put that in an article. Well, it's a good thing to do, socially distant. Get outside. You know, people think they'll walk, but they want to mix it up. And biking is great. I know that, you know, I have customers like my wife, who's getting an e-bike, because when she returns to her job in New York City, she's not going to go on the subway and wants to commute by bike. So, you know, it's a 6 mile. New York is very hilly, so e-bike seems ideal, and we've sold a lot of e-bikes. Kids bikes, I think getting kids out of the house is a popular idea right now. So those are some of the first ones to go. You know, and then for kids that are a little bigger, sort of entry-level, mountain bikes got chewed up quickly. And in addition to the demand, it got exacerbated because factories closed when the workers had to go home because of COVID. It's a supply line problem. And even though now that the factories are starting back up, you know, for the parts factories to build the parts to get them to the bike factories to finish the bikes and send them to here, it's like a 2-month lag.
Manchester's town manager, John O'Keefe, gave us an overview of where things stand from a town-wide perspective. Are there any issues or concerns you have as the town, you know, starts to reopen? And a follow-up question I was going to have was, do you have any concerns about the economic fallout, you know, from the lost local option tax revenue that I'm assuming will be significantly less than last year's? But anyway, I just thought in general, what are you guys thinking about or keeping your eyes on as the town, you know, stores, restaurants, etc., reopen for business?
So we closed out the books on local option sales tax and meals and rooms tax for the current fiscal year, which ends June 30th. But we always book one quarter behind. So we've closed out the books. The numbers actually for fiscal year 2020, which ends in June 30th, are actually higher than 2019. Um, that relied on stronger returns, though, in the first 3 quarters. We did see some decent sales tax numbers in the fourth quarter. Meals, rooms, and alcohol, though, were probably largely supported through alcohol. I mean, there are some encouraging signs coming out of Montpelier as the governor announces more actions. I think one of the risks that we have is that a lot of our tourism population comes from areas that are more heavily impacted by COVID-19. New York, Connecticut, New Jersey, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Pennsylvania. I mean, we're talking about some of the biggest areas in the country that have been impacted by COVID-19. So I think that's one risk that we have. You know, on the other side, opportunity-wise, we're seeing all of the elements of a housing boom starting to come into place. As we talk to realtors, construction folks, I talked to a surveyor today that said his business is going really, really strongly right now. And also, I talked to an appliance business this past week that said that their numbers for the current fiscal year are higher than the previous year or calendar year. And these are all things that are pointed to people moving up here. I haven't heard anything from the schools yet. I am going to plan to reach out to them and see what they've gotten for interest. But I've heard anecdotally that the schools are getting interest from new parents that are thinking about sending their kids to school in Vermont, especially up on the mountain where there's a lot of second homeowners that might be actually looking to move up here. So it'll be interesting to see if we're going to see sort of the same thing that we saw after 9/11, whether we're going to see you know, a significant bump in full-time residents and housing. So we'll see what happens there. As far as reopening, you know, we've had a lot of conversations with businesses, especially restaurants. I've talked to Firefly, Depot Burger, Christo's, Cilantro, Mystic Cafe, Union Underground, and Bonnet and Maine, who have all reached out to us asking for guidance on how they could take advantage of some of the leniency that the town has created or opportunities. So for example, Christo's Pizza, we've given them permission to detour pedestrian traffic into the parking spaces in front. So we'll lose a couple parking spaces, but detour pedestrian traffic into the road and set tables on the sidewalk for the short term, because, you know, all of their space right now is inside. And we've also talked about opportunities that might be outside in the back with them as well. But I think one thing that we're seeing, I think Michael from the Old Tavern said it best, that outdoor seating was already really hot, but now I think it's going to be probably the restaurant story of 2020 is going to be outdoor seating.
The spigot may keep on turning to reopen the state's economy, conditioned on the number of COVID cases remaining low and testing and hospital capacity in place. We'll be looking at other areas like the arts and the creative economy, as well as childcare and summer camps, as those sectors seek to find ways to reopen safely. For the GNAT-TV News Project, I'm Andrew McKeever.